ever wanted to see the thinking process behind an upcycle project, then this is the video for you. Hi, I'm Emily with Threaded Journey, and this year I'm trying to turn a pack of 100 quilting squares into wearable clothing. Trying to find different things to make though out of those 100 squares has been a little bit difficult. So when I saw this photo in an upcycle group, I thought it would be perfect to use with a pair of black jeans that I wasn't wearing and the black squares from my 100 pack. I liked how the jean at the top made a V instead of just being cut straight across and somebody adding a skirt to it. I thought that made it just a little bit more of an elevated upcycle. A diamond shape though, it did not work. As much as I tried it, I could not get it to work with the size squares that I had. So I had to rethink. Still wanted that V look on the jeans. So I remembered a chevron pattern that I had seen, or a V pattern. I decided to cut my squares into strips and create that chevron pattern. Honestly, there were a few moments where I didn't think this upcycle was going to turn out at all. But after a lot of figuring out, it actually turned out really cute. Let me show you how it all came together. I added Pellon lightweight interfacing to all of my squares, and then I cut them into 3-inch strips. I wanted them to be a little bit heavier to kind of match the jean feel. I thought it would hang a little bit better that way and make it feel more like a blue jean skirt. Cut the inside leg seams, and now I have to decide on the angle of my V to make it work. The front all the way down does lay pretty flat, so I don't really need to worry about trying to fix that. Should work. Do need to leave a hem allowance. Don't want to get into my pockets. So I just kind of messed with it a little bit. How do I want that V to look? Where is my cut going to be? The back is going to need its own V cut, but the side is not going to be able to match up with the front V cut in order to get the cut below the back pockets. I wanted to make sure that I got that cut line correct. So when I decided on the angle that was going to be my front piece, I just made a little practice one and lined it up just so I could make a really nice mark for my cut. I then marked a 1 centimeter seam allowance and made that my cut line. So I actually made my seam allowance below that original line that I had marked. And then I was ready to cut. I unstitched the back part that goes between your legs. And now I'm just going to top stitch it down so that it makes the back piece flat. I have unstitched the side seam here and serged it. I had this A-line skirt pattern that I have made before, and so I have put that skirt under my jeans because I had such a minimum amount of fabric to work with. I brought this combination over to my cutting table and just measured how long that front and back panel each were going to need to be. Okay, one of the hardest things to figure out was how I was actually going to get this V all the way down the front of the skirt without wasting a bunch of fabric. So if I made just strips, it wasn't going to work because then when I put them together, by the time you got to the end, I just had this huge waste of fabric. I also tried to just create a V and a V and a V, and then do them right sides together and stitch them and flip them, and that did not work either. It just made the angle off. It was very hard to get the seam to match up, and I really wanted a straight seam down the middle. I hope I've come up with a plan here. So I know I want my middle line to just be kind of right here in this seam allowance that would be on the front. So I'm lining that up as being straight. I did a line here. I just drew a line right there with the angle. And then I did a seam allowance line there. This will be my side seam allowance. And I've got seam allowance for the middle of the V here. And then I'm making this line up straight on my cutting board mat. Now I'm laying out my strips, alternating down that front middle line with fabric and then jeans, just creating a pattern I like. Okay, so I haven't cut out this yet because I just wanted to make sure everything is even and all of that beforehand. But I did pin it on, try it on, and it looks good, and it is long enough, even though it is shorter than right here. It is long enough for me to even hem it, so that's great. This would kind of come like just kind of right down here as far as the straight line goes. Now I've folded my pattern, flipped it over. I have my straight line again down the middle, and this is going to be my angle, and hopefully it's going to match. So I'm going to be doing the same thing over here so that my V hopefully match. That's the plan. Both of my front panels are now complete, so hopefully when I stitch them together, I'll get that V I'm looking for. Okay, I have my right sides together. I have my pattern here, and I'm making sure that I have my seam allowance at the top here. And then I'm actually going to pin this pattern in place. Hopefully I have it pinned to where my seams are all good. I'm just going to have to go slow as I check it to make sure each line matches up the best that I possibly can, since it's going to be right down the front of the skirt. I'm going to stitch right along here, and I specifically have not cut anything yet. Okay, so I used that blue line as the edge of my presser foot for my seam allowance, as if I had cut on that blue line. Let's open it up and see. Oh, I did pretty good. That was truly my first reveal. I had not opened it. Oh, that looks so good. Oh, I'm so pleased with that. Okay, now my skirt. So it's gonna go just like this. Oh, is that not adorable? Yay me. Okay. Oh, now for the back. I just need to stop and say I did not edit that sound clip at all. That was truly my reaction when I opened that fabric. Now it's time to cut the back piece. So to create my cut lines, I used this pattern piece. I used the angle that I used on the front, and I'm lining up the middle with the center back of the blue jeans, and I marked that line, flipped it over, and did the same. I did the exact same thing on the back that I had done on the front. I created my strips and then I stitched them together, and I did each side individually and then sewed it up the middle. Okay, I have both of my pieces sewn together, serged, all the things. I think we are good on my panel pieces. Originally, I was going to stitch them kind of like you would a V-neck, flip it under, you know, stitch right sides together, flip it under. I couldn't, when I was kind of practicing with some other fabric, I just couldn't get it quite right. I was a little bit afraid to do that it would be wonky. So what I decided to do instead was to hem these. So I undid a little bit of the side here. I unstitched a little bit of this, kind of unstitched that. It's a mess right there. I would have done the same thing I did to the back to the front had I had that thought before I cut. I should have done that, although I don't know that I really had a whole lot left actually. But anyway, something to think about as you're working on it. But I did unstitch this just a little bit to be able to flatten out those seams. I unstitched this a smidge to be able to sew over it. So just kind of do what you got to do there. And then I'm going to stitch this on top of this instead of trying to flip it. And that way I know for sure that my center seam can stay in the center. So that is my next goal, is to work on that and to figure out exactly how to do the sides. I was really scared to do the front, so I ended up doing the back first, and I was very glad that I did make that decision. My first attempt did not turn out well. I did not pull this tight enough so this puckers, and when I tried it on, it kind of like dips in the middle. I think that some of that is just because the sides aren't in, but I know this is not right. This is super stretchy jean material. So what I'm going to do is take this out. Luckily I basted it, and I'm going to put some interfacing in on the jeans so that it can't stretch. I was trying really hard not to stretch it when I was sewing it in, and I think I didn't end up stretching it enough, or stretching the fabric enough. So I'm going to try that and we'll go from there. Because I am just basting this in to start with, I drew my seam allowance on the inside, and I'm going to stitch this way, matching up the line so that I can pull this as tight as possible as I'm stitching. Because I realized with something else that I was sewing, if I was doing woven to knit, it worked better to have my woven on the top. So I think maybe that was part of my issue as well, when I was trying it before. So I'm just going to mark where my point is and make sure that I start there, and I'm going to stitch this way, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to stitch this way. Okay. I wore pants that I could put it over today so that I could show you. It turned out much better. It's much flatter across the back side. doesn't dip in quite as much, and it's not wrinkly, which it was yesterday. I think sewing it with the woven side up, even though I was sewing on the inside, made a difference. I think the rest of the pool will help once the sides are in. If not, I'll deal with that later. First attempt at putting it in the front end. Wow, that was difficult. I'm just gonna be straight up honest. Some of it had to do with the fact that I wanted to try to get the sides matched up, and the back jean part, because it's longer, really needs to come down to the first panel of the front. It buckles right here, so I've got to pull this middle piece up somehow. So I've got to do some pulling it up. This side matches up pretty well, actually. This side, however, does not. I ended up having a whole extra length in the back. Not sure if I'm just gonna unstitch that or if I do more like a high-low kind of thing. I ended up cutting the back. I used my seam allowance that was right here for the original jeans, and my pattern piece to get my curve. Haven't finished getting in this yet because I really need to get rid of some of this fabric first, and I kind of need to pull it over. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get it in after I've done the side seams, and it will be okay. If not, I guess I'll just unstitch it. Also unstitch the bottom row that I did not need. So I'm hoping to be able to stitch it first and then cut it. First shot at side seams went fairly well, not great, obviously. So I need to bring the back side. Oh, I need to cut the front smaller is basically what I need to do. But I did finish getting in the top here, but same thing. I'm gonna need to cut this, move it over just a smidge. We're getting there, slowly but surely. And I think it actually is gonna look cute when it's done. What do you think? All right, next challenge. I did end up using my mannequin to make my skirt work out. So I've measured it. It's pretty close to even here. Now I've got to figure out how to stitch that, or cut it actually. I got my sides finally done. It did help when I put it on the mannequin, and I ended up with them not matching up completely. They're a little off, and I have to be honest, I ended up liking it better. I do not have black serger thread. This is just a little secret of mine. I had a few little places where like that white thread showed. I had just a little mess up here where this was hanging off just a smidge. My black Sharpie came to the rescue on that, and I just covered that up. So I have not gone back and stitched this down. I'm actually going to just hand stitch this just a little bit to tack that little piece down there. Last thing left is hemming. I did cut it off, and the back is just a smidge longer than the front. I've serged all the way around, and I'm just going to fold it up basically that serge amount and hem it. If you're still with me, thank you for watching. I'm so glad that I stuck it out because it turned out so cute. So, are you ready for the reveal? Look how cute this is. I ended up the sides being off, which I did end up liking better than straight across. So, you know, sometimes your mistakes turn out to be what you like better. So both sides, the back is just a smidge longer, but I mean just a smidge. It's not a true high-low. It is stiffer like a blue jean. skirt is. And so I ended up making it more narrow instead of A-line because it just stuck out too much when I did the A-line. So I went down back and still walking it, just hand stitched and tacked that down a little bit. Turned out so cute. I'm very pleased with it. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps and that your next project that you do, that you can make it extraordinary.